An ounce of gold, mister, is worth what it is because of the human labor that went into the finding and the getting of it.
Never thought of it just like that.
Well, there's no other explanation, mister. Gold itself ain't good for nothing except for making jewelry with gold teeth.
Humphrey Bogart has been hailed as the greatest male star of classic American cinema. And it's easy to see why, with performances in some of the most iconic Hollywood films of the 1930s to 1950s. Bogart cut his teeth for the first decade of his film career in supporting roles as gangsters and criminals. He played roles like Duke Mantee in The Petrified Forest and Hugh Babyface Martin in Dead End.
Don't you, Duke? I don't know, pal. I wasn't listening.
All right, then let me speak for you. He could have been across the border by now and safe, but he prefers to remain here. Do you know why?
Why?
Because he has a rendezvous here with a girl. Isn't that true, Duke?
Yes, pal, that's it.
In 1941, Humphrey Bogart broke out and became a star, first with High Sierra, and then the John Huston-directed Maltese Falcon.
I've no earthly reason to think I can trust you, and if I do this and get away with it, you'll have something on me that you can use whenever you want to. Since I've got something on you, I couldn't be sure that you wouldn't put a hole in me someday.
Bogart's career had skyrocketed at the same time as World War II ramped up, and it was World War II that gave him the role he's probably remembered for above all others. With the American entry into the war after being an ally-aligned but technically neutral power, Bogart got to play Rick in Casablanca, his first romantic lead and the film that would make him an international star.
He's looking at you, kid.
The rest of the 40s saw him paired with future wife Lauren Bacall in To Have and Have Not, The Big Sleep, Dark Passage, and Key Largo. All of these films are now considered classics in their own right, the peak of Golden Age Hollywood cinema. 1948 saw Bogart working with John Huston once again, both on Key Largo and on The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Tonight we're going to talk about The Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Nuts, am I? Let me tell you something, my two fine bedfellows. You're so dumb there's nothing to compare you with. You're dumber than the dumbest jackass. Look at each other, will you? Do you ever see anything like yourself for being dumb specimens?
The book of the same name was written by B. Traven, a mysterious author whose life and even identity is disputed and basically unknown. He is thought to be the same person as a German stage actor and anarchist named Rhett Marut, who edited a newspaper called Der Ziegelbrenner. Traven moved to Mexico and wrote 12 novels, largely set in Mexico, including The Treasure of the Sierra Madre in 1927. Traven's work, both The Treasure of the Sierra Madre and the so-called jungle novels that he published afterwards about the Mexican Revolution, became incredibly popular for the next 2 decades. During the filming of Treasure of the Sierra Madre, John Huston wrote to B. Traven, offering to hire him as a consultant. Traven declined, but said that he'd send his agent, Hal Croves, to work on set with them instead. It later turned out that Hal Croves was actually B. Traven, working under another one of his many assumed names. The period between 1941, when Huston and Humphrey Bogart made The Maltese Falcon, and 1948, had seen Bogart's rise to being Warner Brothers' biggest star. Huston and Bogart were both engaged, as all Hollywood had been, in making war propaganda. When Huston came back from making propaganda documentaries, he set about planning The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. Humphrey Bogart wanted in. After years of making films where he was romantic leads, heroes, and private detectives, he was happy to be able to play the worst shit you ever saw. The Treasure of the Sierra Madre is the story of 3 Americans, Fred C. Dobbs, played by Bogart, Tim Holt as Bob Curtin, and John Huston's father, Walter Huston, as Howard, who are all poor American beggars living in the Mexican town of Tampico. Tampico is the home to both an oil rush and a gold rush.
Hey, mister, will you stick a fellow American to a meal?
After working as roughnecks and getting cheated out of money by the sleazy Pat McCormick, who hires laborers and tries to cheat them out of their wages to set up the oil camps, Curtin and Dobbs take the little bit of money they got by beating up McCormick and some well-timed lottery winnings, and they throw in with the old prospector Howard to try to make their fortune in gold. Gold, however, corrodes men's souls. The greed drives them to crazed paranoia.
50, 100, like roulette. One more turn, always one more.
It wouldn't be that way with me. I swear it wouldn't.
The mountains where the gold is found is full of people lurking, including bandits and indigenous tribes. Fred C. Dobbs is, even more than the others, singularly unprepared to deal with the insanity that comes from striking gold. In today's pop culture, this has sometimes been called the age of the anti-hero. Especially with the rise of prestige American TV, we love to see our protagonists not only be complex, murky, and ambiguous, but sometimes even fully break bad. However, the anti-hero stories have not always been easy to tell on the screen. Common in the early 20th century French literature and mid-20th century American literature, the anti-hero is completely alienated from society, unconventional, and lacking common scruples. The French fascination with anti-heroes went hand in hand with existentialism, where questions of destiny, purpose, and morality were explored and often left unanswered. These stories were harder to tell in the realm of American cinema, as the Hays Code left strict moral and ethical standards for characters to follow. Early Hollywood wanted unambiguous heroes and villains. Heroes must win, and villains must be punished. Yet still, Humphrey Bogart's characters have almost always walked the line where they could. Rick in Casablanca, who is secretly just as sentimental as anyone about Ilsa and defeating the Nazis, pretends to have a strict personal neutrality.
I stick my neck out for nobody.
A wise foreign policy.
Sam Spade in Maltese Falcon seems like he's actually going along with the plans to acquire the Maltese Falcon until the end.
I won't because all of me wants to, regardless of consequences. And because you counted on that with me, the same as you counted on that with all the others.
Humphrey Bogart also got chances to play unambiguous villains as a career criminal in High Sierra and an escaped murderer in Dark Passage. However, the treasure of the Sierra Madre gives us the chance to see Humphrey Bogart break bad. For that, it's a rare role in classic Hollywood, one that even a brilliant star like Humphrey Bogart had to lobby for hard.
Oiga, señor, we are federales, you know, the mountain police.
If you're the police, where are your badges?
Badges? We ain't got no badges. We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.